Alright, logged into Randall Crozier's account here. I wanted to show you guys a couple of the administrative functions of the callback staffing, just so you know how to deal with call-ins and filling in people, whether they're sick or no call, no shows, if somebody's being held over, what have you. But basically, you've seen everything else. We're going to jump right into the schedule. And for Randall Crozier, who'll be working the 29th on here, if he has comes into work that morning and has a call in, let's say Evan Bauer calls in, he's unavailable to work. So what he wants to do, Randall does, is to delete Evan from the shift. That way it's not recorded any hours. So he deletes Evan out, and that creates a blank or an open slot, 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So he would go back in and fill that shift in. So instead of making phone calls here, we're going to fill in with regular time using the callback function. So he's going to click on fill in with callback. This is the callback screen that's going to pop up. It's going to give you the date, beginning of the shift, and ending date and ending time of the shift, and then a deadline to get the shift filled. So if this is 6:30 in the morning and I want the shift to be filled by 7 o'clock. So, and I'm going to add PRN firefighter. That's who I'm going to be selecting from that particular list. Add the position. Once that comes up, now I've got the callback position to fill 1. I can filter down further if I need to by classification. If I need somebody that's specifically qualified for driving quad 22, for instance, I can click on it and it highlights green, and I can add that if I need to. If I need to exclude a group, let's say I don't want anybody that's already currently working 3rd platoon, or maybe I don't want anybody from Station 1 working that. If I have a specific user that I want to exclude, for instance, I know somebody is off, they're on vacation, on leave, or whatever, I don't want to include them, I could specifically type in Todd Hain or Todd Atherton, select them, and they wouldn't receive the callback. So I could do that by person also. Or if I need to include specific people that aren't in the previous selected classifications or lists. I'm going to come down here. Here's my message. This is what the text is going to show on the phone for the users that are getting the callbacks. So PRN firefighter needed, the time frame with the date, and then the blank here is where your message is going to be inserted. Need shift filled as soon as possible. And then they'll receive that little message in there. Reply with a numeric value, yes to accept, no to denied. Or I can come in and put in a specific message if I don't want to show what's up here in the preview. Once I have that, jump down here, I've got wait time. This is the time that it will go to each user to allow them a 2-minute window to accept or deny the request for callback, and it'll go by seniority, starting with the first person, as in Mark Smythe being the person with the most seniority on the PRN list. It'll give him 2 minutes and then jump down to the next person. Or I can click no wait time, and the seniority goes out the window, and that message basically goes out to all the PRN employees at once, and then the first person to jump on it gets it. So if you're in a time crunch, I would suggest the no wait time. Otherwise, going by seniority it'll give people in order an opportunity to pick up a shift. Once that person's picked the shift up, for instance, if Mark Smythe is top of the list and he picks up this shift, it will take him and move him to the bottom of the list and go on to the next person. I can preview the callback here once I've got all my parameters set. Here's who it's going to contact in order. Again, Mark's at the top of the seniority list. Moving on down. The people that are already working, Todd Afton, Scott Zachow, and then people that would be over their 40-hour limit for the week would show up down here. If I need to make changes or go ahead and start the callback, I'd click Start here, and then it will go out to all the users. In the display screen will come up and it'll show you, who is answering, who's not answering, and once somebody jumps on that shift and takes it, you'll get a message back saying the shift was filled. That is in essence how the callback works. If I'm creating overtime, filling a shift, let's say I've got Chad Graves. Let's take Todd Atherton for instance here. Todd's working 3 shifts this month, and if he picks up this shift for 12 hours, the first 4 hours of that is going to be straight time, and the remaining 8 hours will be overtime. So if I'm going to fill with Todd Atherton and he's available, find Todd Atherton on the list, and I want to make sure this is important. I put him in for the first 4 hours as regular time on that AM shift, and then I'm going to add him in. That puts him right up to 40 hours for the week. If I want to go beyond that, now I've got an open slot here from 10:30 to 6:30. That's the remaining 8 hours. If I want to add Todd into that, I would leave it as overtime. Find Todd's name. Remainder of the AM shift. It's going to tell me Todd's over again on hours. I'm going to force add. Now Todd picks up the shift, and the remainder of that shift shows up in yellow as overtime. And it shows Randall Crozier assigned that shift to Todd Atherton for overtime. If I have somebody that's held over due to a run, that's the last thing I want to show you. Let's say, for instance, that morning Randall comes in, Nate Thompson's held over. We caught a fire early in the morning like we did last Friday. We'll come in here, click on the little clock to the side of Nate's name, and then I've got this option for holdover hours. So let's say Nate came in, he was held over for 3 hours for a structure fire. I would just put a little note in here and then hit add hours. That pops up that Nate was held over for 3 hours. That gets added on to his hourly total for the pay period. So just some quick options on how to fill with callback, how to directly fill a person in. For somebody that's going to be in overtime, how to show that with the first 4 hours being straight time, the last 8 hours being overtime, and then if we have somebody that's held over, how we show that. Other than that, if you have questions, get with me. I'll try to help you one-on-one figure out how to do things, but just make sure we accurately try to record everything that's going on the schedule. Thanks a lot. Okay, one other thing I want to show you before I send this out. If one of our full-time employees calls in that day, I know I showed you the part-time guy. You simply just delete him off the schedule. If it's one of our full-time guys, what I want to do is that person's going to be using up some of their vacation time. So I would come down here to employees off duty, and for this day, let's say Randall is called in. He's going to be burning a vacation day, so I would select that here. Vacation 6:30 to 6:30 the following day. If I want to put a note in here, call in sick, whatever it is, and hit save, it's automatically going to pull Randall from his slot up here and then bump him down here to employees off duty. And again, that creates an open shift here. So I can come in and I can specifically fill with an employee that I choose, or I can jump into the callback and fill Randall's slot from there. So it's just however you want to do it. This will avoid phone calls and send out text messages. Or if you guys want to make those phone calls that early in the morning or evening or whatever it is, you're more than welcome to do that also. To get Randall back, simply going to go in here and delete him from the off-duty vacation list for that day. It'll take him off of the employees off-duty location and bump him back up into his shift up here. One other side note to that, if Randall does call in, for instance, and it moves him off, creates the open slot, and I want to move Jeffrey into the lieutenant's role, I'll just do that real quick here. We'll bring Randall back down. Now I've got Sergeant McNulty in charge of the shift, and let's say I want to bump him up to riding up to lieutenant that day. I would simply change his label and hit save. That'll change up here, and then whoever I get to fill in as driver for the day, if it's Todd Atherton, he bumps up to driving that day. I can leave his AM12 label and also add a sergeant label to him. So he would show up with AM12 plus sergeant. So it would be documented who drove that day or who the sergeant assigned was. So that's all I can think of for right now. If you guys have any other questions, give me a buzz.